Hello, loves. Welcome back to the Magdalene Interview Series. I'm glad to be back. And I'm so grateful for those of you who have chimed in, who have listened over these many interviews. I have learned so much. I feel so grateful, like I'm on the front seat of something so powerful. And today is not going to be any different. I have with me today Sydney of the Blood Mysteries. And finding her work is one of those things where from the moment I found it, I haven't stopped thinking about it. So we have a deep, deep conversation for you today. As usual, I just want to share a little bit about intentions for this show. And, I created this Magdalene interview series to really widen the conversation around the Magdalene. To bring in more voices and voices from various different cultures and backgrounds. The Magdalene and the Black Madonna are such a mirror for women today, and it's been told in such a narrow lens. And so we're here to widen that conversation. We're here to honor individuals who are on this path, whether they're beginners or whether they're deep in their expertise like Sydney is today. And this is also done in conjunction with an invitation to the south of France with me to the sacred sites where Mary Magdalene walked in September. We will be there. We will be all over the land. We will be filling into the sacred sites and really filling up from the inside out as women leaders. And so if something like that speaks to you and you're interested and you want to know more, please do reach out to me. It's taking shape nicely to see who's enrolling and how this space is going to be in September. I'm so giddy and excited about it. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Sydney of the Blood Mysteries. And will you tell us a little bit about who you are and the work that you do in the world, Sydney?
Absolutely. Firstly, thank you so much, Melissa, for having me here in this sacred space in the time of the Dark Mothers to be able to speak more about my path and what I offer to the collective as a Magdalene priestess and Sibyl of the Blood Mysteries Temple. So hello to everyone. Again, my name is Sydney. I am a conjure woman. I am a Sibyl. I am a Magdalene priestess that follows the descent path, the descent and ascension of the Magdalene. And what does that mean when I am speaking about the descent? The descent is essentially going into our shadow underworld, our womb underworld. It is to meet the darker aspects of ourselves, to meet our trauma, our woundings, and to be able to bear witness to that the same way that Magdalene, a death priestess, a death doula, a midwife, witness Yeshua on his own descent into the womb underworld and his ascension, which mirrors so much the story of the Sumerian goddess mother Venus, or Inanna or Ishtar, who also journeys into her own womb underworld and is met by her dark, some people say twin, others her older sister Ereshkigal, the Sumerian goddess of the underworld, where Inanna, through 3 days, which also again mirrors Easter, which also mirrors the resurrection of Christ or Yeshua, and is met by the impalement and the hanging of Ereshkigal, to later after those 3 days ascend upwards. And that is the mirror of my work, to walk women through their unravelings, to walk them through their unweavings, to meet your shadows, and to act in the role of the Magdalene, to be a witness and a guide to your own descension, your own spiritual death, and your ascension to meeting yourselves and how do I say, to integrate with your shadows and to rise again as Venus or as Inanna.
Wow, wow, wow. I like get so giddy when I hear you talk about all of this. There's really this, interesting conversation. And I was even talking to a friend recently, and she was like, wait, when I think about Mary Magdalene, I only think of light. Like she's one of these light beings or whatever. And I was like,
Mhm.
what? Like, because for me, it has been a calling to dissent every step of the way.
Yes,
But when
ma'am.
you only have the sanitized version of Mary Magdalene, when you only have this little pious side character
Mm.
that was like a like a she was there as a support person, kind of. I mean, that's how I saw her most of my life. You only have that version, and then you add to that layers of like, European artistry of who Mary Magdalene was. Um, you don't get a whole lot of the elements of darkness, and I thought, oh, that's interesting, but it wasn't until later that I started to recognize we're doing this to ourselves. We're doing
Right.
this in relation to race. We're talking about like, everything has
Mhm.
to be lighter, whiter. And we're doing this to ourselves in our own like orientation for like, as a woman, all through my 20s and into my 30s, I thought it's about being benevolent and gracious and
Mhm.
sensual in a light only way, and
Yeah.
kind and compassionate and charitable and giving, and all of these ideas of what it means to be a whole woman, and you're completely ignoring all this whole other half. So I'd love to hear you speak to um like what happens when spirituality only focuses on light or softness or ascension or high vibe, or anywhere you want to go with that conversation.
Of course. Thank you. And that is honestly like the heart of a lot of my work is to dismantle the Magdalene that comes from the lens of patriarchy, that comes from the lens of the church. Um, Magdalene is often seen as a repentant kind of character.
Mm.
She is seen as a silent character when there's so much more depth and darkness to her. And so often in this society and in our modern day society, um, a lot of people fear death. We don't have a proper process that has been severed from a very indigenous, earth based spiritual tradition of death. And Mary Magdalene, which is so interesting in all of the artistry, because I actually held a class not too long ago about dismantling Mary Magdalene from the lens of patriarchy in the church, where we actually go through the art history of it. So oftentimes we see Magdalene, yes, she's either naked, nude, or partially draped in the wilderness. She is either carrying a skull, a cross, um, in lamentation of deep sorrow and tears and grief. What we don't know from the feminine mysteries about Mary Magdalene is that each of those symbols of Mary Magdalene are linked to the cult of Isis or Auset. They are linked to the ancient lineage of the womb mysteries. And what does that mean? Lamentation was a sacred mourning rite of Mother Auset originally. Lamentation, when you look at the ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics, it was a natural part of society. They literally, the greatest thing that the Egyptians it's a meme on TikTok that the greatest thing that the Egyptians thought that you could do in life was to die, but it was to prepare for the afterlife and to live your life to the fullest. So when we're looking at lamentation, that was a huge part of the cult of Isis that is related to the Isis, Osiris, or Auset, Auser mysteries, which again mirrors Magdalene and Yeshua. When we look at the skull of the Magdalene, that is connected to again the womb mysteries, the place of the womb. And I'm trying to remember the word that it attributes to in the biblical text. But when we look at society from love and light, we deny ourselves the ability to feel anger. We deny ourselves the ability to process grief properly. We deny ourselves the ability to feel those. So when we look at love and light, we're thinking, oh, you always have to be sunshine and happy, and spirituality is about ascension, ascension, ascension. Whereas the Magdalene path, essentially the one that I follow, is one of descent. It's about recognizing woundings, traumas, um, spiritual hurt. This is acknowledging woundedness that you've had in your life, and especially the oppression, suppression, and rejection that we feel or that we go through, especially as women, as the feminine in this society. We are not allowed to be as sexual as we desire to be. We have to almost shove down and suffocate our own desires in order to meet the needs or the standards or to fulfill these roles that patriarchy says you are a wife, you are a mother, you are a daughter, you are these things, and you cannot be more than these things, because then they threaten the patriarchy, they threaten the wounded masculine. So when we look at things in just the light, the ascension, we deny ourselves the ability to hold rage. We deny ourselves the ability to hold grief. We deny ourselves how the feminine does not work on a linear path. Men are able to regenerate and rejuvenate themselves 24 every 24 hours. The cycles of the feminine follows the four menstrual cycles. We have our menstrual cycle, our ovulation, our follicular, and our luteal. That's about a good 28 to 32 day cycle. That's an entire month. So we are going through different phases that follow the cyclic nature or a cyclic rhythm of nature that follows the moon cycle. When that is disrupted, we then cut ourselves off from the descent path, from the left hand path of the Magdalene, the yin, the moon, the watery, the cold, the dampness. And so, by only following a side of ascension, the right hand path, the path of Yeshua, or the path of Christ, we see just how detrimental the role of women is in society now. Whereas following the Magdalene path of descent allows for us to descend into our womb consciousness, to where we don't always have to be smiley and happy and on. We can be dark and mysterious and just within ourselves, and to be able to howl to the moon, to be able to be naked, to be able to just be as feminine as we desire to be.
Wow. I'd love to invite everyone listening to just take a deep breath and
Mm,
really like receive those words. And I'd love to add my own perspective to what I'm hearing you say, because in my journey, this is exactly how it went. The
mm,
more that I allowed myself to do my own descent and embrace these parts of myself,
mm,
the more I recognize that my previous obsession with light and ascension was
mm.
actually perpetuating things like white supremacy. I was perpetuating things like, um, a very narrow lack of awareness, and
Mm,
also can't deal with the things going on in the world. I was very like bathing in my own white privilege, and I
mm.
was scared. I could see every step I took towards the mother, towards this deeper, rich thing that we're talking about. Um, I was like, I am heading for like this activist thing that I've been afraid of my whole life.
Yes.
And and it is absolutely part of it. You cannot have a relationship with the primordial mother, with your
Mm,
true inner mother,
mm.
without letting your heart crack open and facing. That's been part of my descent. It's facing like, oh, I have been participating in these things, and it's time for me to crack my heart open and let myself see
Mm.
the things and really hear the stories and really be with people. And I don't think that we realize, at least as white women, I don't think we realize uh, that this obsession with ascension
Yeah.
and lightness and high vibe is also creating this toxicity and perpetuating racism and things like we don't realize. And
Mm.
I have some friends who are like, you need to probably alter your language a little bit. Like, I don't know why I've been invited to be a bridge at this time and season in my life, but here I am because I lived one way and now I'm living a different way. I saw one way, now I'm seeing a different way. And it's hugely thanks to my relationship with Mary Magdalene. And I'm so grateful.
Mhm.
Like, this work has been uncomfortable, but it's also opening me up to all of humankind. So I think that's important. And I think that's what we ought to be doing.
Yes. Yes, I agree. And again, you said something so interesting here. It's being cracked open, and that is hugely uncomfortable for a lot of women to have to face. They have to face their inner misogyny, their own inner racism, their own inner prejudice. They have to face years of woundedness, years of trauma, years of pent up rage and emotions that they were never safe to be able to express in their families. Many of us have gone through a great deal of abuse on so many different levels. And when you do not have a safe space, guidance, to be able to unravel and to feel those things fully, it can be very detrimental to the soul. It can be very damaging to the soul when you don't have someone that, it's not just talk therapy, but there are spiritual aspects, there are spiritual rituals that you do as well too, in order to heal your spiritual auric field, your chi energy, your spirit. So it's very the love and light movement is very, very damaging because it perpetuates a kind of feminism that is dangerous, um, and nuclear to brown and indigenous women who know how to face and hold so much ancestral wisdom that is comfortable with death and that can spiritually connect to ancestors who have done the work on the other side, um, to where you may have a white counterpart who, may still have ancestors that are very much still racist, that are very still hold the ideals and the morals that they do, because I think people don't really know this about, the afterlife, but at least from my own experience is that when our loved ones pass over, they are still this exact same energy that they were here. They may choose to evolve and to grow and to heal on the other side, or they may choose to still be the exact same person. And a lot of my white counterparts who don't do the proper shadow work, there is a chance that y'all can still be taking on a lot of those inherited ancestral cycles of abuse, of trauma, of belief systems within yourself. So it's very important that everybody be willing to, yes, it may be hard and yes, it may be uncomfortable, but it's not impossible for you to do the work and to be accountable for yourself. Sometimes you may not be able to work with any of your ancestors because they have not done that work on the other side. That's all right. That doesn't mean that you are cut off from an energy like Mary Magdalene, for example. But you can't enter a space with Mary Magdalene and think that that blindness or illusion to said trauma is going to fly with her, and especially any of the dark primordial mothers.
That has been my exact lived experience. And every time I think I've been like, who, me? You think I'm brave enough and you think I got it? Like, can I do
Mhm.
this?
Mhm.
And we discovered that yes, we can. Like, this is what we're here for. And something that like has really shocked me about deconstructing white privilege and this work
Mhm.
that I'm rooted in is
Mhm.
that I'm finding greater healing and wholeness in myself.
Yeah.
I guess, when I started doing this, it was like, oh, I should probably start paying attention to how myself is affecting those around me. It was more of
Mhm.
a, outward focus. It was like, I should do this work because of others. I did not think that I would benefit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably important, right? Like, it's probably not good to go into that work just to try and find gain. But
Yeah.
the reality is, and it's the same with doing this descent work. Like, it sounds terrifying. Like, I mean, when you were describing your work, it's like, why would anybody hire you if you're taking people through spiritual death? That's terrifying. But it's because we're actually living this narrow version of like ascension and light and all of this. Like, it felt to me like I was being squeezed like a tube of toothpaste every day of my life. Like, I battled with depression and anxiety
Mm-hmm.
and like, and couldn't, and all I could do was try to perfect myself. Like, everything, I mean, can't really change the circumstances around me. Everything was like, nope, it's just you. And it's probably, your screwed up mindset, or you're screwed, whatever. Like, you got to just do more healing stuff and just
Mm-hmm.
piling on all this stuff that, like, I'm grateful. I feel like it was a stepping stone because it got me to this place. But like,
Right.
it was not a fun place to be. And the more we do this, like, work that you guide people through, why would someone hire you into spiritual death? Because the other side is more peace and like
Yeah.
more wholeness and connection to your purpose. So, I mean, I would love, let's talk about this. What do you see women trying hardest to avoid when they begin this work? Work centering, shadow and grief, sexuality, womb trauma, all of these things. What do you see women trying hardest to avoid when they begin the work?
Couple of things, just based on my own clients and my own experience and what I've seen. A lot of women will try to avoid taking accountability for choosing the kind of partners that they choose. Let's
Ooh.
start there. That's the first one. That one's real nasty. And let me tell you why. Because you have to be willing to face yourself. You have to be willing to face the fact that you don't like yourself. You may not like your body. You may not like you may not think that you're attractive. You may have a lot of low self-esteem. That's one of the big ones. A lot of women hold a lot of low self-esteem, which then puts them into relationships and partnerships with people they don't have no business being with. You
Mm.
see a lot of that with women who do not love themselves enough, who do not cherish themselves enough, who do not hold themselves on a pedestal the way that they do. And I know this from my own personal experience. I was in an 11-year relationship with someone who did not genuinely like me. I
Oh,
was in a relationship with someone who genuinely was abusive in so many different ways. Navigating my own descent had to come with a lot of courage to face the fact that I did not like myself. I did not cherish myself. I thought that I was supposed to suffer. I thought that I had to suffer in order for me to be loved. I did not think that I deserved to be loved. And when you create all of these, when you are indoctrinated, when you are taught these things, and there is a huge miscommunication that can happen in our childhood between our parents who may not have the emotional capacity to even be having kids to even begin with. They raise kids from their own woundedness, from their own wounded perspectives, that then is passed down into us, their children. We then have to do the unraveling of ancestral work, ancestral belief patterns that are passed down. So one of the things that I find that women have it hard is taking accountability for choosing the kind of partners that they have chosen because of the way that they see themselves and that they don't honor themselves. They believe that they should suffer. They believe that this is all life is going to be for them because they haven't been able to do the work in order for them to be able to hold and be accountable. Another thing I feel like women have a hard time and a scary time doing in the descent is being honest.
mhm.
And they're scared of being honest because they're scared of hurting other people's feelings. Or on the other end of the extreme spectrum, they don't care to hurt other people's feelings. And so they can't see past their own wrongness or their own skewed perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
When I think about the things that women fear about the descent, it's about facing themselves and being in spaces where they are uncertain about their own futures. Because the descent comes with great change. You are not going to recognize yourself after this descent. And when you are in the descent, you might have to make a very big decision on if you can even continue in the partnership and the marriage,
Yeah.
if you can continue in the family unit that you're a part, if you can continue in the job, because the descent comes with a huge crisis, a crisis in the dismantling of the identity, partnership, relationships, co-partnerships, family relationships. You are quite literally being shattered to pieces, and you are being impaled by the dark mother Ereshkigal, again the sister of Inanna, who watches her go through the descent, goes through each gate and gives pieces of herself, pieces of her adornment. We are born as daughters of patriarchy originally. We all are. We can't avoid that. If you are lucky enough to have a mother that has gone through descents of her for herself, who has done the extreme spiritual work, not to, I applaud. I'm so happy that you have that kind of mom. But each of us are born as daughters of patriarchy. We are all born and indoctrinated to cater and to center the male, and through that, it comes with a shattering of the self. From very young ages, unfortunately, our mothers also contribute to that shattering of the spirit of the feminine soul. Body shaming, wounded relationships with the mother, wounded relationships that then cause us to either hate our bodies, to hate ourselves, to truly, again, this is the hard part about the descent that I see a lot of women struggle with. They struggle with the truth, and they struggle with their rage. We're not allowed to feel rage in our society.
Mm-hmm.
We are oftentimes demonized, or we are taught that certain goddesses like Kalima, like Ereshkigal, like Sekhmet, these are mothers that hold that fire. These are mothers that destroy as much as they create. These are mothers that do not tolerate foolishness. Lilith, I just heard Mother Lilith come down like, you forgot me. Sorry, Mother. And if y'all see me yawning or anything when I as a medium, as a sibyl, as a channeler, as a conjure woman, I do have ancestors and primordial mothers that do love to come through and be able to come through with a message. So y'all excuse me if you see me yawn. It's not because I am tired. I'm very well rested. It is extremely cold when spirit comes in, and when the primordial mothers have something to say, they will make it known. So yes, Mother Lilith as well too. So we fear our own power, our own darkness. A lot of women fear that. They fear death in a way, but also know that it is a part of it. We're very close to death. We are the doulas to it. We are the channelers to it. We are the original womb shamans. We are the gatekeepers, the same as Mary Magdalene. We each hold a piece of Magdalene within ourselves. But that darkness scares a lot of women because they got to face themselves. And a lot of women do not like who they are. A lot of women have been shamed, rejected. They've played third party to relationships. And again, there's self esteem. It's just in the drain, it's in the toilet, it's in the dirt.
Mhm.
And a lot of women fear unraveling those parts of themselves and seeing themselves fully in the descent.
Yeah, how many, I wonder even how many women are aware that we carry disdain for ourselves,
Mm,
like accessing that layer of honesty because it is inherited misogyny. Um,
mm,
Waking up to that myself was both like crushing and
mm,
liberating at the same time
mm, mm,
because I always thought my inner voice was something I needed to conquer. So it was humbling to admit I hated myself,
mm, mm,
but it was also like, and that is because this voice is not mine. Like I
mm.
ought to feel this way. And then I have perpetuated that belief by taking actions which actually do have me very upset with myself. And how do I unravel those things? And when you and I had our first connection call, I
Mm,
started crying and I started crying again hearing you talk about this, like the way that so many things have to unravel. And it makes sense that so few are willing to say yes to the call to really go within because my life looks nothing like it looked when I first heard the call. Like it
yeah.
absolutely sacrifice after sacrifice after sacrifice. And I also am like, I'm not sure if it's done. I'm also not sure if it's over or not.
Yeah.
And I guess that's sort of the nature, right? Like we die every month, we as women, like so.
Yes. Yes.
But
Oh
yeah,
my gosh. Oh my gosh. Yes. You hit it on a nail, and I'm so happy that you brought that up. So happy. Because let me especially make this clear. Our descents do not end once or twice. They are a lifetime. Lifetime. We are going to go through descents for the rest of our now lives as humans. I don't know what y'all gonna reincarnate it, after this. But in this lifetime, as a woman, you are going to go through a descent. It's just like you said, descents happen every single month. Think of Persephone, right? Persephone goes down into the underworld and she comes back up. She goes down into the underworld, she comes back up every single year. Think of Venus. Venus goes through her own descent in the sky. She goes through the morning star to evening star, back into the morning star um, cycle as well. This is the roles of Venus. If y'all don't know it, y'all look this up. Like I'm telling y'all, we are expressions of Venus, of the feminine. We are going to go through descents and ascensions for the rest of our lives because that is the evolution of the human soul. That's what it's all about. And it's a very beautiful experience because just when you think you've hit one layer, there's another layer underneath that dirt. And you got to keep digging. And the more and more that you dig, for me, the more and more you find so much love. That's what people miss out on in a descent. They think, oh, darkness. Oh, oh, it's scary. Oh, death. Oh, this. No, baby, there's so much love. There's so much compassion. Working and creating a relationship with one of my first primordial mothers that came to me, Mother Auset or Mother Isis. For some of you who don't know Auset, it's Isis. Mother, goddess of 10,000 names, Ashe. Being able to understand death was to understand to have pure compassion for myself and to love myself on such a level through the flaws and all. Mother Auset has helped me understand that. And it is through her wisdom, through her teachings, that I was able to reach the Magdalene. Now, Mary Magdalene had always been there for me. Even in my college days, I wanted to focus primarily on a Mary Magdalene study. I didn't finish college because that wasn't my calling. I came to this path later on in life. Descents are going to happen for the rest of our lives. And you can either go with the flow and let it transform you. Or you can allow for yourself to continue in the illusion, and life will only get harder because, once again, you are choosing. You are choosing that path for yourself. It is not being chosen for you. You are choosing not to change. You are choosing not to grow. You are choosing to stay in the illusion of what society has told you to be and who you should be. And you are refusing to choose and to name yourself.
Mm. And I'll just invite everyone to take a deep breath in this. This whole conversation involves so much depth and richness that I hope we'll all go back and rewatch again. I feel like there's pieces and places I wanted to go, and we're coming up on time. So let me think about what my last question I want to
Yeah.
ask you is. I think I think one last area I want to go, and then
Yeah.
we'll invite you to share, your offerings and whatever else you want to say too. But the last little direction I want to go, if we can, is the kind of this element of drawing practices from specific spiritual and cultural traditions,
Mhm.
and like, what does right relationship with those lineages look like for you in a real way? Um, and I just love to hear you speak from, like, it's because a lot of well, let's just ask the question and you can answer.
Well, so with my own practices, it's been such an interesting 180 experience. I left Christianity, left the church, did not want anything to do with that. Walking this path with a more Kemetic Sumerian um, pathway for myself, which was so healing on so many different levels, and being able to connect back to the Neter or the Neteru, the essence of the Kemetics or the Nubian or the Egyptian gods and goddesses. Um, that has been such a beautiful, homely experience that led me back to ancestral veneration. And then through that, that led me back into the Magdalene path, which led me back to this path of hoodoo that I've now been initiated into, that I was not expecting at all. Like, I really was just like, I want nothing to do with the Bible. I want nothing to do with the church. I want nothing. But the path, the left hand path of the Magdalene encompasses all of that, because it's a reclamation of the feminine Christ consciousness. And this is not, again, like the crazy woo woo ascension light aspects of Christ consciousness that leads into these weird cults. Like, absolutely not. Like, I couldn't even be a cult leader if I even wanted to be, because I'm the type of person that is just like, okay, you got your teachings. Okay, you understand the word. Okay, you ain't got to go home, but the door is that way. Go on now. Just go. Be free. Like, you cannot stay with me. I am a hermit. I like to be by myself. Once I give that teaching, all right, it's time for me to go ahead and go into the cave and go on back to the wilderness, and y'all take care. That is me. So my my practice involves so much of the left hand path of the Magdalene. That is one of the most beautiful practices that I came into myself. And walking the left hand path allowed for me to heal so much of the feminine within myself. And not only that, but to touch into my own ancestral matrilineal lines, to reclaim my name, to reclaim my heart, my love, my devotion, my spiritual path, my spiritual essence, And it has allowed for me to work with my ancestors and also healing them as well too. When you heal yourself on this path, you are also healing the women that came before you. You are healing the mothers, the sisters, the wives, the daughters, the cousins. You're healing all of that. You are doing the things that they wish that they could have done, that they could have processed. You are healing aspects of yourself that says no more to abuse, that says no more to self sacrifice, that says no more to the woundedness that have been passed down generation through generation. Walking this path of the Magdalene, of death, of resurrection, of realizing just how connected Mary Magdalene is to so many different ancient paths of the feminine and ancient paths of the womb. When you deep dive into Mary Magdalene, you see that her womb holds the essence, it holds the codes of different mothers. We go from the Egyptians to to the paganism of the Hebrews with Asherah. We go to the womb red threads of Inanna and Ishtar. We then get connected to Aphrodite and the cults of her awesomeness and rawness and beauty. We see so many different aspects of Mary Magdalene through the left hand path of the feminine Christ that has allowed for me to be able to connect with so many different primordial mothers through the womb mysteries, um, and to connect them to Christian or Catholic expressions and saints that these primordial mothers were hidden behind. So, for instance, Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene are incarnations of Auset,
Right.
and they are different aspects of her. One is the Holy Virgin and the Holy Whore, but Mother Auset is both. I am the barren one and the fruitful. I am the Holy Virgin and the Holy Whore. These these words echo the divine feminine. They echo the divine mothers. They echo the true path of the Magdalene and the reclamation that is available to all of us through this healing journey.
Thank you. I think that the last question I'd like to wrap up with is we've talked a lot about, this dissent and honesty with disdain for self, or like, and I'm talking with a friend recently, and she shared this honesty with me. Like, I feel this way towards myself. And if
Yeah.
she said, if someone felt the kind of aggression that I feel towards myself, if someone was coming at me carrying that, I would be afraid. And
Mm.
I I have felt that in my life. And I'm wondering, and my heart is aching for her and also so proud of her, right? That layer of honesty is
Mm.
like where it can all start to smooth out the rough edges and everything. But like, what would you say? There's not like a one size fits all answer, but what would you say as words of encouragement to someone who's in that space? And what does the path look like to come to a place where you really can look yourself in the eye in the mirror and be like, I love you. Like,
Yeah.
I'm so proud to be in this skin, you know?
I would start with honoring the honesty, honoring honoring the wounds, honoring how honest you are being in that moment about yourself, because in that moment, that is exactly what you feel. To be honest with yourself is probably the most loving thing that you can do for yourself. It's so important for you to know thyself, because when you understand your wounds, you understand how people have taken advantage of you through the perspective of those wounds. Now that you know how you feel about yourself, you can change those things. You can map back through your womb thread, where those belief systems first cemented through. And a lot of the times it comes from inner child woundings. So face and to give space to your inner child, sit with that aspect of yourself. Go back and sit with the aspects and the parts of yourself. Do that soul retrieval. Because within soul retrieval, you're going back in time to the parts of yourself that were taught those belief systems about yourself. You then have the power to remother yourself, to sit with yourself, and to fully face, look yourself in the mirror work, and begin to pour love. One thing that I like to do that I can say for everybody is to start EFT tapping. Start tapping and breaking up those belief systems about yourself. I am fully loved. I am fully adored. I am fully present. And I hold so much love, compassion, and honor for myself. All of that good, like starting with that and mirror work, inner child healing, that soul retrieval, going back into those parts of yourself, that foundational work, womb healing. That's where I would start with. You got to go into the fractured parts of your womb. Give her a voice. Let her be reclaimed and reclaiming her voice. Womb meditations, womb healing. That's where I would really, really start. Because like storage units, they hold everything. They hold all of the memories. They hold all of the pain. They hold all of the trauma. They hold all of the parts of ourselves that have been silenced. When you go into that womb space and you allow for yourself to sit and to hold yourself within that space, you allow yourself to blossom and to open and to be and facing yourself. Change, redirect how you speak about yourself, even if you don't believe it. Keep going, keep moving forward. And when you need to, give yourself that space and attention to hold onto those that heaviness, but don't fester. Because when you fester, you repeat the pattern of suffering. You don't want to suffer. You want to be able to hold space for your shadows, hold space for those moments where you are being honest and it's hard, but you don't want to fester. You don't want to suffer. You don't want to recreate that cycle. That becomes an addiction. And you don't want to do that. You want to move through it with love, move through it with compassion for yourself.
Powerful. Thank you so much, Sydney. This has been beautiful. Is there anything that you would like to share with the audience today? I don't know. What are you offering right now? Or what's you got any events coming up or anything? Certainly we've already got in the description the different like social media and links and things like that. I highly recommend go and connect with her. The even just the wisdom she's poured into us today, but the wisdom she pours into, her Instagram videos and things like that. It's so powerful. What do you have coming up that you want to invite everybody to?
Yes, I thank you so much for that. So I hold womb descent journeys, whether you are looking for one-on-one sessions, that is available. I have the She Who Descends, a womb mapping ritual, which is a one-on-one. We go through the 7 gates through your own pace. And I always tell my clients within those spaces is that when we are going through the 7 gates of Inanna, you are meeting different aspects and parts of yourselves during that descent journey. It could be between 3 months, 6 months, or a year. It is purely based on your needs and progress. So that is one of the first things that I am holding. I am also holding root work, tending to your own inner garden. This is also a descent journey into uprooting belief systems, patterns, and going within deeper womb healing as well too. Also a descent. I am also holding that as well too. That begins June 5th, and I will be holding that space for between 4 to 8 women who are interested in going through and tending to their own inner spiritual gardens and are ready to do deeper inner womb healing work as well too. I also have a beautiful sacred adornment and reclaiming the feminine, the dark mother aspect courses and classes that are coming to Patreon that are being in the works and being gestated as well too. So if any of you are interested in either sitting in sacred space with me in one-on-one sessions, going through your own descent journeys, or would just love to be able to take a class or to come to a lecture, I have all of these beautiful things being announced and updated through my Instagram, through TikTok, through Patreon, through YouTube, through my website. So please come when you are ready and find me within the temple.
Thank you so much. And thanks to those of you who watched with us today. Please do, leave comments. Even if you're watching this on replay, we'd love to hear what your thoughts and things were. Or you can reach out and DM either of us. And of course, these types of messages are such deep transmissions that we get it if it's not something you want to blast publicly. But I feel like this work, this is the undercurrent of what is bringing change to our whole
Mm-hmm.
world right now, and it's
Mm-hmm.
necessary. And it's so brave when women are willing to go in and do this work in themselves. Men too. Men also need this journey. But I see women reacting to the call more than I see men reacting to the call right now. And
Mm-hmm.
it matters so much because I think about, I've got 4 kids, and I think about, like, what is this world going to look like for them? And even in 30 years, things are changing so quickly, and it matters so much, this element of allowing our hearts to really crack open. Like, it matters
Mm-hmm.
more than we realize. So thank you for your work, and thanks for those of you who joined us, and
Yeah,
we'll see you again next time on the Magdalene Interview Series.
perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much.